Hiya fellow artisans, how are you doing today? I'm here to share with you the beautiful Imala range, and I hopefully will inspire you to create something amazing. Now, the actual stamp that I'm going to be using today is called Treehouse. It's a firm favourite of mine. Great for new home cards, you know, use it as a background stamp, use it as your scene setter if you like. Now, the actual stamp, you may be looking at the imagery thinking, well, that's kind of small, Carly, that's not that exciting. Let me show you the actual size. So this is an A5 stamp that you are getting, a beautiful polymer stamp ready to go for all of your projects and crafting needs. So I'm going to be showing you lots of different styles and techniques of how to achieve perfection with this stamp. So I'm going to be using the Eureka. Again, just pick it up. I'm using watercolour based card as well before I start painting my imagery. I'm going straight on with the VersaFine beautiful black, and what this does is, because it's an all-purpose ink, you can go straight on with your watercolour. So I'm just tapping on as I go just to achieve and make sure I've got a good layer of black on my stamp ready to go. Now, to create the project that I'm creating this time, you will need to stamp this 2 or 3 times because we are going to decoupage layers to create perfection. So again, you're just using your fingertips over the top. Now, the beauty of using the Eureka, if you haven't got enough ink on there the first time, when we lift it up, if there are layers, you can reapply and then simply stamp over the top because you're going to be in exactly the right position. So I'm going to take this away now off of my platform, and we are going to start to paint. So like I said, we do need a few of these because we are going to be decoupaging the layers. The layers that I'm going to be doing are the beautiful door, the roof up here, the flowers, and maybe the roof and the chimneys as well. I'm going to show you some different techniques now, how to achieve what I've achieved already. So this is my actual background and that beautiful stamp. Absolutely fabulous, and I'll be showing you in different steps how to achieve this perfectly. So first things first, we're going to start painting. So whether you use your moist watercolours or whether you use acrylic, entirely up to you. I'm going from my small beautiful Himi brushes. This is the number 5, which is that gorgeous tipped but round brush. Absolutely gorgeous every time. So I'm going to pick up this very dark brown. Now my brush is slightly damp, and I'm just going to lay it into my palette here. Super easy. Next, I'm just going to add a tad of water, make sure I brush that excess off, and go into the lighter brown and pull that right next to it there. Then I'm going to go into my black, pop that colour right next to it, ready to go. So now we can start painting. I'm going to pick up this brown, rotate and roll my brush to make sure it's not got too much colour on there, and I'm just getting layers of colour. Now you can emboss this as well if you're a newbie. That works beautiful because then what that will do is it will encapsulate your colour and you won't have any seepage, if you like. I'm going to go into that mid brown as well. Just pull that colour up and round. Very, very simple. And of course, if you think about, you're going to have shadow from this at the top. This area will be slightly darker just underneath. So you're just going to pull that colour around, then go into a lighter and just pull it in. Super, super simple. Now, like I said before, we are decoupaging layers. So because of that, you will need a minimum of 3 or 4 of these stamps. Now I've gone in a slight little bit darker now, and I'm just going to start highlighting, even though it's dark, so it's not really a highlight, it's a low light. And what this will do is it will just frame that imagery and create the perception of the deepest shadows. I'm also just going to pull this down slightly so it creates a deeper shadow there. Again, you're just going to go on your edges, pulling that colour in. If you've got the right products, it makes the job so much easier. It really, really does. And you can see, just keep layering them colours to achieve perfection. Super simple. Can you see that? Absolutely, it's so simple. I'm bringing a little bit darker now, and what I'm doing is I'm sort of swiping it across the colour, going back into my water, roll my brush to make sure I've not got too much water on it, and then I'm just going to blend them colours together. See how simple that is to achieve. Again, darker one edge because you've got to think of where your shading will be. And we're just going to pull it round. Bit of water now and go back in. Super, super simple. So that's just one area. You do exactly the same sort of method on all the other windows. Now to achieve this window block here, I'm going to go into the grey, pick up a bit of the black and the brown and mix it together. Roll that brush so you really maximise how much paint you are getting on there. And then what you do is you just go to the edges of the window pane. This creates light and shading to make it more 3D. And also just to make it slightly more realistic. Go back in, pick up a bit of black, add that, rotate your brush, make sure you wipe off your excess. And we are just going to lightly go round, add a tad of brown. There we go, and just draw that water colour away. So on each of the window panes you have actually still left some white, but this just creates a beautiful 3D effect. Now we're going to move on to the stairs. So exactly the same method as I've shown you there, you will do on all of the windows and areas. So now I want to show you how to do these stairs. So I'm going in on the black, take your deepest colour first, and I'm just creating the shadow line from the wall to the stairs. If you work in, rather than big strokes, work in little strokes, because then if you do not mess up, but if you don't achieve what you want, it's very easy to go back and fix it. So now I'm coming up onto the stairs with the same colour. And if you think about how the sun will be hitting, now this is the easiest way that I personally should be able to show you how the sun works. If the sun is here, or here, or here, the way you do it, take two pencils. You isolate where that light source is coming from, and then what happens if the sun is here, for instance, all of this side will be lighter, this side will be darker. It's really, really simple. Use that as a guide, or you can use low-tack tape just to keep that position so you know you're on the right path. I'm going to go into my grey now, add a tad of water, pick that up, mix it with the black and just pull it away. So I'm going back in, go over the top of that black, and it still might be a little tad wet, which is good because what you're going to do is blend it away with the grey. So we're just coming nicely along there. Back into that black, we can finish our stairs. So the base stairs, if we think about the light principle, the base of the stairs will be the darker shade, and then as it's the base stair that you actually step on, that will be your lighter. So now I'm just pulling some of this colour along, super simple, like so. I'm going to go back in that brown now, mix that in so it's slightly lighter, making sure I've got a tad of water in there just so we can blend, and we will just pull that across. So now by using the water and that browny grey, we're achieving a lot more, a lot quicker. And that is how easy it is to watercolour paint. Very simple. Of course, if you want to get more technical, there are obviously much more advanced layers and technique. But I think if you've just started maybe on your Imala journey, you are gonna love these. They are gorgeous. I'm going back into that dark and just pushing it across. Using the water and of course the lovely paints that we already have on there. So you've got a lot of perception in there as well. It just makes it simpler. I'm going in the brown now, and I'm just adding that fine detail over and across down the stairs. There's something about painting, it's just pure therapy, it really is. You'll probably notice by the sound of my voice, I do get really chilled out while I do it. I get lost in the possibilities of what you can create with just paint and water. It's fabulous. So now I'm going over that edge, very simple. Now, when you look at the stonework as well, another really easy technique is to take the grey, and we're going to do the outside first. Don't worry if you go over some of that detail, because we can come back in and highlight that straight after. So we just need to get some base colour on basically first of all. So we get a little bit of colour on in the middle there, like so. Now I'm going to go back into that black, but then heavily add brown as well. So it's almost like a minky colour, because you've got the black, but then you also have that brown detail. And we're going to go in and we're just highlighting, well, it's low lighting, isn't it, around the stones. Not all of them, if you don't want to. And you can create some really nice effects. So I'm going to go in the white now, take it into that grey, add a little dash of the brown and the black. Then we are simply filling in that detail. You can go back and highlight it with white if you want, but it's so achievable. Beautiful. So I'm going to go back in with a little tad of white now, like I said, twist it off my brush. And then not every piece, but just some of them. I'm just going to add that detail. Very simple. Going to go back in the water, tad of brown, mixed with the grey this time. And we are just going to start pushing more of that colour away to the stairs. Like so. Okay, so like I said before, we're going to decoupage this, but I want to show you as well how to create this background. Super easy, really, like silly easy, it really is. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to use watercolour and ink work together. So I'm going to go into my green, come into my palette just there, add a little bit of blue. So we've just got sort of more like a tealy colour. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, I'm going to grab a wet brush now, and so around the imagery we are just adding that wet brush with a little tad of ink. So I'm going to pick up some of that colour, and rather than using it swishing, I'm tapping it in, because as that dries, that will create beautiful layers of paint and texture. Super simple. And of course, don't forget, this does go much lighter as well. Now with this one, I'm actually coming in quite close to the imagery. I'm going to pick up a little tad of green now, add that green in with the blue, but not too much, so we can add a bit more colour. And just build that up. And go back in with your water. Super easy. So I'm just going to dry this off quickly, then we can move on to the next layers. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my beautiful inks, my favourite. I've gone for the evergreen bell and the bundled sage, but we are coming back to watercolouring as well. Now I'm going to take a paper cup, really simple. If you haven't got a circle stamp, this is the easiest way to do it. I'm just going to go straight in on the bottom of my cup, and we can create bubbles from this. So this will just give us that base colour ready to go. So now don't forget as well, because it is a distress oxide, you can very easily use that and blend that out from there. But what I'm going to do is take that green that we was already working from, add a little bit of white, just one side, so we can come back to this colour. And I'm just going to halo the bubble. Very simple, very easy to create the colour effect. Again, straight in, just go over and around. There's something quite wonderful about creating bubbles. I don't know why, I haven't quite worked out why, but it's brilliant. So simple to achieve as well. So whether you want to go around the whole of the circle or whether you just want to use partial, completely down to you. I'm going to go in with a wet brush now, and I'm just blending that away. Very simple. Now I'm going into a tad of blue, mixing it not completely but just offset to the side of that colour that I was using before. And then we are going to go round, add water, and bring it into the centre, like so. Again, just bring that blue round, use your water to blend. Now because of this, now you can add any colour into this. So for instance, if you're using pink, if you're using yellow, you can easily add them colours and blend them out from there. So for instance, if I wanted to add yellow in, I can very simply do that. So I could go back in, just add that yellow tone, a tad of water, and just blend it away. There we go. So try and create the sphere sort of style. Again, down the bottom, add in the blue, and you could even add pink if you wanted. So if I take a tad of pink, then use that water to push it away to create the sphere. And see how I'm painting, rather than painting flat, I'm painting in curves, because the more you do that, the more effect you can get from that. Very simple. So I'm just going to dry that off, and then I'll show you the flicking technique that goes over the top. Now I've gone for the bundled sage. I'm going to pick this up, and we are just going straight over the top with my doorbell. So you do this to edge your card very simply. Fan brush, dirty water. Now you may be thinking, why use dirty water, Carly? Because it's obviously got its own properties of colour. So just add in that, creates a beautiful splat effect. Now this effect also works beautifully for like under the sea sort of style. So if you're journaling, scrapbooking, beautiful, don't just think homes. So I'm going to go back to my main project now that I've already started, because I've shown you how to do the painting technique. I've shown you how to add that gorgeous detail on the step, and I've shown you how to create the background. So by stamping extra layers, I've now cut free, very simply, these additional layers. I've just popped foam pads on the reverse, and it would just build it up and bring it to the foreground very, very simply. So I'm just going to take these off and add this to my project. Now you can use this standalone as well. You could repeat stamp this maybe and just create something quite magnificent using that. So now I've got that beautiful roof on top, and I'm actually going to just manipulate it and sculpt it slightly. This will work gorgeously, whether it's with fairies, whether it's with some of the other designs that we have, it will work perfectly. So also I've only got one of the sunflowers. I decided, because obviously the layers that I've got here, that two would be too many. So I'm just going to pop one there. And then of course I've got my little door to go on there too. Very easy, and again just manipulate that slightly and add that to your project. Final pour, I'm just going to add a few of these beautiful little iridescent gems, not too many, just a few here and there. And don't worry, it doesn't have to sit 100% symmetrical. If anything, it's better if it's not symmetrical, because then what happens is it looks more arty. So last one down the bottom there, we are ready to go. So there we go. Super simple. It could be new home, it could be a fairy village, it could be home decor, it could be a card. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you feel inspired and you go and create something amazing today using a mala. Thank you and take care. Bye.